Today we're talking about photosynthesis. And we've got several distinct components of it that we're going to go through step by step by step. First off, I want you to be able to differentiate between the required substrates and products of cellular respiration and photosynthesis. Now, we talked about cellular respiration. The point of cellular respiration is to break down what? Glucose. The model we talked about is breaking down glucose. What do you need for it? What's the reactant? Glucose plus what? No, not ADP. You need glucose. Okay, let's scale it back a bit. Respiration. Taking in, right, oxygen. Glucose is going to produce what? Carbon dioxide and water. Now we're going to go and figure out how we built that glucose. We talked a lot about glucose. Now we're going to talk about how we build it. And to do that, we've got to figure out where all the energy in the biosphere comes from. So every bit of energy that we use up on this planet has to come from somewhere. It's not just randomly created. It's coming in from somewhere. It's being transmitted. We've got to provide energy for every single biological reaction that occurs on the planet. And that's a lot of reactions, a ton of reactions. And we're not just looking at the surface. I mean, yeah, you see a lot of things. You see grass growing, you see trees, people moving about, animals. But we're not just concerned with that. We also have to worry about all the stuff at the bottom of the ocean. The bottom of the ocean is rich with life. Most people haven't been there. It's actually the most unexplored region of the, not just the Earth, but we've spent more time on the surface of Mars than we have on the floor of the ocean. We know more about Mars than we know about some of the areas of the ocean. And we're still finding new things out. Now, at the very bottom of the ocean, you've got to get energy. Some of the energy might be made at like these geothermal vents where there's lots and lots of super hot nutrients coming out of the Earth's crust. Around those black smoker vents, you're going to have gigantic communities of living organisms, worms that are 15 meters long. They're encased in a shell. Crabs that are translucent, little white things walking around, picking bits and pieces out of that smoke.
What would they even get from it?
Pardon?
What would they even get from it?
What would they get from it? Some organisms can take these chemicals coming out of the earth and convert them into organic molecules. And then the crabs might eat those organisms. So from the bottom of the ocean all the way to the tip of the atmosphere where oxygen goes away, there's no more gases. We have life, and we have to provide energy for all that life. By far, the how can I put this? So by far, most organisms on the planet get their energy from all sorts of sources. Some organisms get their energy from eating other organisms. Some organisms get their energy from inorganic sources. If you're a heterotroph, you're going to take in organic molecules. You eat organic molecules, and you use those organic molecules to make other organic molecules. Autotrophs are going to be organisms that create organic molecules from inorganic sources. So like we talked about with those black smokers at the bottom of the ocean, there are going to be some organisms in there that take the inorganic molecules out of the smoker and convert them to organic molecules. And then that crab might eat those other organisms in there. As far as a heterotroph, this lion up here, what's the lion eating? A wildebeest? Is it a heterotroph or an autotroph? It's a heterotroph. It's taking in organic molecules. Over here we have grass. Is grass a heterotroph or an autotroph? Autotroph. It's taking in inorganic molecules, it's taking in carbon dioxide and converting it to sugar. The trickier one's this wildebeest. Is it a heterotroph or an autotroph? Shouldn't be tricky. It's a heterotroph because it's eating grass which has organic molecules in it. It's taking in organic molecules. So these heterotrophs and these autotrophs have a dynamic relationship. The heterotroph consumes the autotroph consumes inorganic molecules to create organic molecules. By far, the most abundant source of energy for the biosphere is the sun. It's important to pretty much everything. We get a lot of the energy we need to survive from the sun, but we don't get it directly from the sun. We don't get it directly from the sun. Other organisms can get it directly from the sun. That leads me to the photoautotrophs. Again, what are autotrophs? Right, so they build their own organic molecules from inorganic sources. Photo, what does that mean? Light. So they do it using light. Photoautotrophs take light and they use the energy from light to create the bonds of organic molecules. And here we got a few. Four-leaf clover. It's got leaves to it. Those leaves are broad and flat. Why are leaves flat? What does that flat do for them? Absorb the sun. It's like putting out a really large solar cell, right? The larger it is, the more energy you can collect. Do you guys know what the image is on the top left? It's a flower, I know that part, but specific type? I'll give you a hint. Super important to the state of Virginia at one point. Not so much now. Okay, not a Virginian, doesn't matter to me. No, not poppy. No, we're not making heroin. What? Tobacco is correct. It is tobacco. That is the flower of the tobacco plant. Normally when it gets to I appreciate how your mind went right to heroin though. The tobacco plant flowers, but you usually don't see the flower because by the time it's flowering, the sugar is no longer being put into the leaves where people might want it. It goes to the flower. Oh, how about this one? Aloe. What's aloe good for? It's good for a lot of things. Burns, sunburns. Has anybody ever used like an aloe plant to cure a burn? Yeah, a few of you guys. Guess what? Fun story. That's kind of illegal. What? Turns out you can't use, in Virginia, you cannot use aloe for medicinal purposes without a medical license because it's practicing medicine without a license. Right. Check this out. I thought the same thing, but they sell it in stores, right? Look at the tag, and what does the tag say on it? Decorative plant.
No, but
It doesn't have a tag.
not the actual plant, but like an aloe, like a giant aloe leaf from Whole Foods.
Right.
So I can't,
No. I'm not saying what you can and can't do. But the thing is, it's actually under the same regulations as marijuana use. Isn't that surprising? The more you know.
we're going to find out and smoke some aloe.
Go smoke some aloe. There you go. All right, so this process is called photosynthesis, taking the sun's light, converting it into the bonds of glucose. We're going to take carbon dioxide and water, the reactants, and put them together to make glucose, C6H12O6, and oxygen. The energy necessary for this comes from the sun. So 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water, adding light, yields 1 glucose molecule and 6 oxygen. This will look really, really familiar, right? Because at the top, I've got the equation for aerobic cellular respiration. 1 glucose plus 6 oxygen yields 6 carbon dioxide and 6 water, which is just the exact opposite of photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide and water yields glucose and oxygen. There's a relationship between the two. Is that obvious enough? Okay. That's important because in the Earth's history, throughout the Earth's history, there's been a weird relationship between taking in carbon dioxide and releasing carbon dioxide. When you release carbon dioxide faster than you take it in, the Earth's temperatures go up. When you take in carbon dioxide faster than you release carbon dioxide, the temperatures go down. This has led to a cycle of mass extinctions. Now, in the Earth's ancient past, volcanism has resulted in a lot of carbon dioxide being produced in the atmosphere, or coal beds erupting after they caught fire. Coal beds, if they catch fire, the fire will travel underground, releasing a lot of carbon dioxide. When that happens, the temperatures tend to go up really high because the plants can't compensate. Sometimes in the Earth's history, not kidding, there are too many plants. Those plants begin taking carbon dioxide faster than it's produced, and the temperature of the Earth goes down, leading to an ice age. And then we get it's really cold and things die off. So throughout the Earth's history, the relationship between aerobic cellular respiration and photosynthesis has dictated literally whether or not organisms will survive. So photosynthesis is where you're going to use the light from the sun in order to produce sugar and this waste product, oxygen. It's made up of two distinct steps, the light-dependent cycle and the light-independent cycle. The light-dependent reactions, otherwise known as the photosystems, and the light-independent, the dark reactions, otherwise known as the Calvin-Benson cycle. But when you combine them both together, net results are 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O yields glucose and 6 oxygen. So, I'm just going to go straight down the line so you get to start. All right, where does most of the energy come from in the biosphere? The sun. You win. Well done. All right, so what's the difference between a heterotroph and an autotroph?
A heterotroph takes in organic molecules from the environment, and an autotroph creates organic molecules.
Right, so an autotroph is going to take inorganic molecules to make organic molecules. A heterotroph will take in only organic molecules. And here's the hard one. What is the chemical equation for photosynthesis?
CO2 and H2O form C6, H12O6, and O2.
Right, so 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 H2O, 6 water, yield 1 glucose molecule and 6 oxygen. Do you guys have any questions?